That was much kinder than I expected. Before I start, if I can just beg slight indulgence, just so thrilled to see Chancellor Peterson here, just because. September 18th, 1975, Chancellor Peterson was elected MPP, I believe for the first time from London Centre. My father, who is here today on that same date in the same election, was elected MPP for London North. It was the Chancellor's first of many election victories. It was my father's last. I'm not a big fan of numerology, but on September 18th, 2005, exactly 30 years later, I won the Emmy. And so I'm expecting great things from my children on September 18th, 2035. This is truly one of the greatest thrills of my life, which has had more than its fair share of thrills. It's also one of the most mysterious. When I received the email asking if I'd agree to speak today, I did not immediately dismiss the possibility that it was a practical joke. I assume this honor is not typically bestowed upon mediocre students who have been suspended from the practice of law. The fact is, the biggest decision of my life, the one reason that I'm here today, is I quit law. And seems to be the message they're sending to you. Congratulations, get out of here. Now, I wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was 12 years old until the second week of law school. I first made that joke 27 years ago at the third year at the law school final banquet, and I appreciate the chance to do it again because it's a good joke. This speech, though, was actually tougher. That time I just had to be funny for 8 minutes. This time I have 8 minutes to say something worthy of what you've achieved. I have to somehow summarize everything I've learned in the past 27 years to give you words to live by and truths to inspire and be funny. So, be true to yourself, stop and smell the roses, all that stuff. Do that. It's all trite, it's all true, and it's all useless, and not life, just the bumper sticker version of life. 8 minutes is just a longer bumper sticker, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Not least of which because I haven't figured it out. I know there are right answers out there for every question. I really believe that. I also believe I may never figure out the right answer. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to keep on making mistakes, and that's okay. By the way, if I was speaking to a medical school graduation, I wouldn't give the same speech. But no matter what words I choose today, there's an obvious message implicit in my being here, implicit in the only thing you really know about me. I'm sort of a walking, talking example of what can happen when you pursue your dreams. I'm famous by lawyer standards. I'm rich by lawyer standards and pretty much any other standard at this point. And I get to spout off on a weekly basis on almost any subject and have millions of people listen throughout the world, which is pretty damn cool. But I can tell you there's also a fry cook in North Hollywood who gave up everything to pursue his dreams of becoming a writer, and he wasn't on the short list of speakers today. I have to believe they pulled out the long list before my name came up, though. So, when I left law and moved to Los Angeles, my mother bought me a book, Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow, which is a very supportive gift from a Jewish mother whose son was resigning a partnership in a law firm. I never read the book. The title always stuck with me, though. It seemed like the equivalent of eat what you want and get skinny. Obviously, it was going to sell better than do what you want. The money might follow if you get exceptionally lucky. The fact is, I don't believe that things always turn out for the best. I think that's something said by people for whom things have turned out for the best. Find a homeless guy on your way home, say it to him and see how he reacts. Which is why I'm very uncomfortable with my life story being held up as an example to aspire to. Because I was an idiot. The fact that it all worked out very nicely doesn't make me any less of an idiot. the fact that people say it was courageous, the fact that a shockingly large number at the time of my legal colleagues told me they wished they'd had the guts to do what I was doing, none of that makes it any less idiotic. I quit law, moved to LA, and started writing, in that order. I didn't write part-time, honing my craft while continuing to earn a living. I quit, moved, and then started typing. Not because I knew I had what it takes, I didn't have a clue. Not because I thought if I could dream it, I could live it. If that were true, I'd be playing shortstop for the Detroit Tigers. I just knew if I was going to do it, I had to just do it, because I wasn't doing it part-time. I couldn't get the gumption up to do that. But I want to clarify something. I'm not saying my decision wasn't courageous because it was idiotic. An action can be both idiotic and courageous, which sort of calls for a George Bush joke, but I'm going to move along. In this case, it wasn't courageous just because it wasn't that big a deal. The one thing I was smart about from the beginning was I knew the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario was I get rolled by a transvestite hooker on Santa Monica Boulevard. Okay, I knew the second worst case scenario, which was that I fail miserably, that I'd fall flat on my face, and in 2 or 3 years I'd have to go back to law with my tail between my legs and with a tan and a story. And 5 years after that, it'd just be an amusing anecdote on my resume. And this is what separates you and me from that fry cook. And this applies even if you're not thinking of joining the circus, a monastery, or becoming an astronaut. If you're just thinking of changing firms or changing specialties or teaching for a while or taking 6 months to do anything, you have a degree from the finest law school in the country, or at least it was in 1982. Which means one thing. You have what we call screw you money. Actually, that's not precisely what we call it, but you get the point. You have it even before you start your first job, because you will always be able to make a living, proudly and honorably, which means you never have to be scared of failure. The great thing about safety nets isn't the reason your mother wants you to have one. It's not about planning for failure. It's not even about protecting you from failure. It's about making failure irrelevant. Success cannot be what drives you. Failure cannot be what you run from. I've always written what I found entertaining and crossed my fingers that other people would like it. I've always completely accepted that they might not. And if they didn't, I'd have come back to law with no regrets. I had no interest in being a success writing stuff writing stuff everyone loved except for me. It just seemed pointless. And here's where I start getting trite, or triter as the case may be. There is no magic job. I did not hate every minute I practiced law, not even close. And I don't love every moment I write, not even close. Happiness isn't a binary equation. Was I destined to write? Was writing my only way to happiness? If I had failed, if my career had not unfolded as it had, would I be miserable today? I hope not. Yes, for millions of people, Monday nights would be a miserable time, but I'd be fine. I hope I would have been able to take whatever career I wound up in and make the most of it. Because your job does not define you. What you do with your job, what you do with everything else in your life, that's what defines you, which is too bad because I've got the coolest job in the world. People tell you life is short, but it's not. My mother will curse me for tempting fate like that, but for most of us, there's plenty of time to screw up over and over and over again and maybe get 1 or 2 things right eventually. So take your time, make the best choice you can, and try to have fun. It's not always easy, even when your dreams come true. So I am ultimately saying be true to yourself and stop and smell the roses. And finally, congratulations. No matter what you do with your life, you will always be proud, as I am, to call yourself a University of Toronto Law School graduate, even if it means nothing in the States. So. Thank you and good luck.